Hello, friends. If you're curious about the movie Annabelle Comes Home, 2019, you're in the perfect place. Don't forget to give this video a quick like, it really helps us out. And if you're new here, hit subscribe to stay updated on all the latest movie deep dives. Let's jump right in. Annabelle Comes Home, 2019, is part of the Conjuring universe, a supernatural horror franchise that has brought us spine-chilling stories, unforgettable jump scares, and a whole lot of dark spirits. Directed by Gary Dauberman, who also wrote the screenplay, Annabelle Comes Home is the third installment in the Annabelle spin-off series. But don't worry if you haven't seen the previous Annabelle films. This one stands tall on its own, offering an intensely suspenseful ride that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Set in 1972, the movie takes us back to the familiar haunting world of the Warrens, the paranormal investigators at the heart of the Conjuring universe, as we follow their daughter Judy and her babysitters through one terrifying night in their home. But what sets this film apart is its more confined setting, bringing the horror into a single nightmarish evening, where the house is not only a place of paranormal activity but a fortress for the spirits trapped within. And of course, at the center of it all is the infamous Annabelle doll, the very object that started it all. Her mere presence in the film is enough to make even the bravest of souls uneasy. Now, let's break down the movie, its terrifying plot, and the twists that will keep you on the edge of your seat. At the heart of Annabelle Comes Home lies the house of the Warrens themselves. Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, are returning to their roles in a much smaller capacity in this story. It's not their investigation that we follow this time, but rather their daughter, Judy Warren, who's only a teenager. Judy is already carrying the burden of her parents' paranormal work. She has inherited the strange ability to sense spirits, which is both a gift and a curse. But when her parents leave town for a case, leaving her in the care of her babysitters, the tension and fear escalate quickly. Judy's babysitters, Mary Ellen, played by Madison Iseman, and Daniela, played by Katie Sarife, are the characters that will make up the majority of the film's focus. While Mary Ellen is the responsible and caring sitter, Daniela is a bit more troubled, carrying her own emotional baggage that comes into play as the story unfolds. The contrast between these two creates a dynamic that plays out in both emotional and terrifying ways. As soon as Judy's parents leave, the unsettling atmosphere begins to grow. The Warrens' house, which holds relics and objects from their many investigations, is already a hotspot for the supernatural. And it's when Judy's babysitters inadvertently unlock the room that houses the cursed Annabelle doll that things take a terrifying turn. The room itself is designed as a containment chamber, a place where the most dangerous items from the Warrens' cases are kept under lock and key. But what happens when the veil between this world and the other side becomes too thin to protect those inside? The supernatural activity kicks off the moment Daniela, who is dealing with some guilt over the recent death of her father, opens the locked room in an attempt to contact him. Her desperation to seek answers triggers the release of Annabelle's malevolent spirit, but it doesn't stop there. With the doll at the center of the chaos, a series of spirits are unleashed, each with their own dark intentions. It's not just Annabelle who terrorizes the house. She's joined by an array of unsettling apparitions, including a werewolf-like creature, a phantom figure, and a creepy manifestation of the Bride of Death. These spirits, each more terrifying than the last, have one thing in common. They're after the souls of those unlucky enough to cross their path. The doll itself is an important figure in the Conjuring universe and has gained a terrifying reputation. Annabelle was introduced in The Conjuring, 2013, where it was revealed to be an object of unimaginable evil, possessed by a demonic force that has wreaked havoc in the lives of everyone who came in contact with it. In Annabelle Comes Home, she is once again the conduit for horror, but what sets this film apart is the way in which the evil spreads, growing more menacing the longer the doll remains uncontained. With each terrifying encounter, the spirits grow stronger, and the house becomes increasingly dangerous. What makes Annabelle Comes Home particularly exciting is how it slowly builds the tension. Rather than relying solely on jump scares, the film takes its time to create a growing sense of dread. The pacing is deliberate, allowing for moments of quiet before a terrifying encounter. The haunting atmosphere is intensified by the eerie design of the house itself, a place filled with strange and cursed artifacts that seem to come alive in the most terrifying ways. The filmmakers do an excellent job of making the house feel like a character in its own right, with its creaking floors, dusty hallways, and the sense that something is always lurking just out of sight. Even though there's a limited number of characters, the tension never wanes. The small, intimate setting makes the supernatural presence feel even more oppressive. But then comes the big twist, one that will have you rethinking everything you thought you knew about the story so far. You may think that everything that's happened up until this point is just building toward the inevitable showdown with Annabelle, but Annabelle Comes Home takes a darker turn. As the night unfolds and the supernatural forces tighten their grip, Judy's powers as a clairvoyant and the desperation of her babysitters collide in an unexpected and shocking climax. The spirits of the dead and the demon that controls Annabelle seem to conspire to make sure no one escapes. There are moments in the final act when it feels like hope is lost, but that's when the movie hits you with one of its most unexpected twists, leaving you reeling from the realization of what's been happening behind the scenes the whole time. In the end, Annabelle Comes Home is a film that blends suspense, terror, and heart. It's a story about family, about the burden of the supernatural, and about facing your deepest fears. While it may not have the same intense focus on Ed and Lorraine Warren as the previous films in the Conjuring universe, it doesn't need to. Instead, it takes us on a journey into the heart of a world that is constantly at risk of being overtaken by evil. The stakes are personal, and the terror is inescapable. The performances are stellar across the board, with Madison Iseman and Sarife delivering standout performances as the babysitters caught in the thick of the horror. They're not just victims, they are characters who grow and evolve throughout the night. Judy, too, is a standout, played by the talented Mckenna Grace, who captures the innocence and the burden of a girl who has seen too much for her age. As the supernatural chaos reaches its peak, the ending of Annabelle Comes Home is as satisfying as it is horrifying. The resolution doesn't tie everything up neatly, leaving the door open for future terror in the Conjuring universe. But it also gives fans a sense of closure for the characters they've grown attached to throughout the film. It's a reminder that even in a world filled with monsters, there are those who will stand up to the darkness, even if they don't always succeed. With all this in mind, Annabelle Comes Home delivers on its promise to be a thrilling, supernatural horror story. It's got all the tension, horror, and terrifying moments we've come to expect from a Conjuring universe film, but it also brings a fresh perspective with a focus on a new generation of characters and the growing legacy of the Warrens' work. From the suspenseful atmosphere to the pulse-pounding moments, this film is not one to be missed. The tension in Annabelle Comes Home, 2019, continues to build in the second half, as the house becomes a battleground for the supernatural forces unleashed by the cursed Annabelle doll. The chilling journey reaches a fever pitch, with Judy, Mary Ellen, and Daniela forced to confront the horrors lurking within the walls of the Warrens' home. As the night unfolds, the stakes grow higher, and the terror becomes unrelenting. What was once a relatively calm evening has spiraled into a fight for survival. After the spirits inside the house are released and begin to wreak havoc, the characters quickly realize they are not only dealing with the vengeful spirit of Annabelle but with a host of other dark forces that have been drawn to the doll's power. The first major shock comes when a malevolent spirit, in the form of a creepy, spectral figure, begins to materialize in front of the characters. This spirit is not just an ordinary ghost. Its form is distorted, its appearance grotesque, and it's clear from the start that it's not interested in peaceful resolution. Mary Ellen and Daniela are not prepared for what's coming. Daniela, who had hoped to find closure with her deceased father, is now consumed by guilt for unleashing these horrors. Her emotional turmoil only makes her more vulnerable to the spirits, especially as they begin to target her specifically. The house, once a place of sanctuary for the Warrens and their family, is transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth where every corner seems to hide a new danger. The spirits take on various forms, and each one is more terrifying than the last. The most disturbing, of course, is Annabelle, who seems to be the conduit for all the other horrors that have been unleashed. The true terror begins when the first physical manifestation of a spirit attacks. A sinister, werewolf-like creature emerges from the shadows and begins to stalk the house, moving with terrifying speed and ferocity. It's a creature that's both physical and intangible, something that can't be easily stopped by mere mortals. As Mary Ellen and Daniela try to fight it off, they quickly realize they're outmatched. The creature's appearance marks a turning point in the story, signaling that the forces they're up against are not just angry spirits, they're powerful, predatory entities that have one goal: to claim the souls of those unlucky enough to be in their path. Judy, who has been sensing the spirits all along, knows something terrible is happening. She understands that the house is no longer safe, but her powers, though impressive, are not enough to protect herself or the others from the onslaught of these malevolent beings. In one of the most harrowing moments, she is confronted by a manifestation of the bride, a terrifying spirit in the form of a woman dressed in a wedding gown, her face obscured by a veil. The bride's appearance is one of the most iconic moments in the film, a horrifying image that sticks with you long after the scene has passed. The bride is relentless, moving with a predatory grace, and she's out for blood. In the midst of this chaos, Mary Ellen and Daniela are forced to confront the full weight of the situation. They can no longer rely on their previous understanding of what's happening. Daniela, still struggling with her grief, is beginning to see the true cost of her actions. She may have thought she was reaching out to her father, but what she has done is far worse. She's opened a door that can't be closed, unleashing forces that no one can control. Daniela's emotional arc comes to a head as she faces the demons of her past, realizing that the true horror is not just the spirits in the house, but her own guilt and regret. As the night progresses, the intensity of the hauntings escalates. The house becomes a labyrinth of fear, where every room holds a new nightmare, and every corner hides a new danger. It's a classic horror setup, one that makes the most of the confined space of the house, using every inch of the set to build a sense of claustrophobic dread. The spirits seem to have the upper hand, and it's clear that there's no escape for the living. The major plot twist happens when it becomes clear that the only way to stop the rampaging spirits is to confront the Annabelle doll directly. It's not enough to merely lock the doll back in its cage, it has to be destroyed. But this is easier said than done. The doll's power is too great, and its influence over the spirits is undeniable. The realization that the only solution is to face the doll head-on adds a layer of desperation to the story. The spirits are not just haunting the house, they're using Annabelle as a conduit to enter the real world, and unless the doll is dealt with, there's no hope of escape. In a tense and emotional confrontation, Judy, Mary Ellen, and Daniela make their way back to the artifact room, hoping to find a way to contain Annabelle once again. The house, however, has other plans. The spirits are closing in, and the trio finds themselves fighting not just for their lives, but for the very soul of the house. In one of the film's most terrifying scenes, Annabelle appears, not as a doll, but as a monstrous, twisted version of itself, a horrifying manifestation of its evil nature. The sheer malevolence of the doll in this form is enough to send chills down the spine. The three characters, each dealing with their own fears and struggles, must work together to defeat the doll and seal away the spirits once and for all. Judy, in particular, proves to be the key to solving the problem. Her ability to sense and communicate with the spirits gives her a unique advantage, but it also puts her in the line of fire. With the other two helping her, Judy is able to use her powers to close the door to the other side, trapping the spirits in their world. It's a moment of triumph, but it's also bittersweet. The house may be safe for now, but the lingering presence of Annabelle will never truly be gone. The sense of finality is hard to come by in this world of supernatural horror, and the film ends with the hint that the evil is always lurking, waiting to strike again. The resolution is both satisfying and unsettling. The characters survive, but they are forever changed by the horrors they've experienced. Judy, though young, has gained a deep understanding of the dangers that exist beyond the physical world, and her connection to the supernatural will only grow stronger. Mary Ellen and Daniela, too, are marked by the events of the night, their bond forged in the crucible of fear and survival. In the final moments, as the Warrens return to their home and are reunited with their daughter, there's a sense of closure, but it's tinged with the knowledge that this is far from over. The last image of the film is a chilling one, with the Annabelle doll sitting in its cage once more, its beady eyes staring out at the world. It's a stark reminder that, while the immediate danger may have passed, the evil that Annabelle represents is never truly gone. The climax and resolution of Annabelle Comes Home build on the foundation laid by the earlier half of the film. What began as a simple babysitting job quickly spirals into a full-fledged battle against the supernatural. The twists and turns keep the audience engaged, constantly wondering what will happen next. By the end, the film has successfully delivered a satisfying conclusion to its story, while also leaving the door wide open for future terror in the Conjuring universe. The terror may have subsided for now, but the lingering presence of Annabelle is a reminder that evil is never fully contained. In Annabelle Comes Home, 2019, the characters are not just pawns in a supernatural battle. They are the heart of the story, each one struggling with their own personal demons while facing the terror unleashed by the Annabelle doll. These characters are defined not only by their reactions to the haunting events of the film but by the emotional and psychological depths that they bring to the story. Let's dive into the key characters, understanding what makes them so compelling, and how they contribute to the emotional and thematic undercurrent of the film. At the center of the story is Judy Warren, Mckenna Grace, the teenage daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous paranormal investigators. Judy's character is one of resilience and quiet strength, but there's also an undeniable weight on her shoulders. From the very beginning, it's clear that Judy has inherited more than just her parents' love for their work. She has inherited the ability to see and communicate with spirits. This gift, though often depicted as a blessing in horror stories, is far from a gift for Judy. It's a curse that isolates her, keeping her distant from the normal teenage experiences that her peers enjoy. She is a girl burdened with knowledge of the supernatural world, forced to face things that no child should ever have to deal with. Judy's connection to the paranormal is presented as both her greatest strength and her deepest vulnerability. She is often seen trying to live a somewhat normal life despite the overwhelming forces she cannot control. The opening scenes set the tone for Judy's character. She's shown not as a victim but as a young girl who is used to the presence of spirits, even though they continue to haunt her in terrifying ways. Her world, filled with the supernatural, is both a source of strength and a burden. Judy's resilience becomes particularly important as she is forced to face the horrors unleashed by Annabelle. It's her ability to sense the presence of spirits that allows her to become one of the film's primary protagonists, but it also makes her the first target of the evil forces that are unleashed once Annabelle is freed from her glass cage. Judy is unique among the characters in Annabelle Comes Home because she isn't just a passive observer. She's active, she fights back, and she takes a pivotal role in resolving the supernatural crisis that plagues the house. Mary Ellen, Madison Iseman, Judy's babysitter, is another key character who brings a different energy to the story. Unlike Judy, Mary Ellen is a more typical teenager. She's sweet, caring, and a little naive, and she steps into the role of protector for Judy when her parents are away. However, it quickly becomes clear that Mary Ellen, despite her good intentions, is in over her head. She doesn't have the ability to sense the supernatural forces around her, and she is completely unaware of the power that the Annabelle doll holds. The film does an excellent job of contrasting Mary Ellen's innocence and optimism with the dark forces she is soon forced to face. Her character represents the every person, someone thrown into an unimaginable situation, trying to survive while keeping their wits about them. Mary Ellen's character arc is one of survival. At the beginning of the film, she is eager to take on the responsibility of looking after Judy, but she remains oblivious to the true danger that lurks in the Warrens' home. This sense of innocence is shattered when she is thrust into the middle of the chaos brought on by Annabelle's release. Mary Ellen's reactions are deeply relatable. She's scared, confused, and not sure who to trust or how to fight back. Her struggle to protect Judy in the face of supernatural forces adds a sense of urgency to the film, and her bravery, despite her lack of knowledge or experience in dealing with spirits, makes her a likable and empathetic character. Daniela, Katie Sarife, is another central character whose motivations and emotions are essential to the film's plot. She enters the story as a friend of Mary Ellen's, but her role quickly becomes much more complicated. Daniela is struggling with grief over the death of her father. She is consumed by guilt, believing that she could have done something to prevent his passing. This emotional turmoil makes her vulnerable to the spirits in the house, particularly the evil forces released by the Annabelle doll. Daniela's character arc is one of emotional healing, but it is set against the backdrop of a terrifying battle against supernatural forces. Daniela's desperation to communicate with her deceased father leads her to make a fateful decision, breaking into the Warrens' artifact room, where she disturbs Annabelle. This moment sets off the chain of events that unleashes the horrors in the house. Daniela's actions are driven by grief, and her desire to connect with her father becomes a tragic catalyst for the nightmare that unfolds. However, as the spirits begin to target her, Daniela's character transforms. She's forced to confront not only the evil unleashed by Annabelle, but also her own unresolved emotions. Throughout the night, Daniela must face her guilt and find a way to make peace with her father's death. This emotional struggle is not just an undercurrent to the plot, but a central theme of the story. Daniela represents the idea that grief can cloud judgment and lead to dangerous decisions, but it is also through facing her grief that she finds the strength to survive. Then there's Annabelle, who, though not a traditional character in the sense of human beings, is central to the story. The doll itself is the physical embodiment of the evil that plagues the house. Throughout Annabelle Comes Home, the doll remains a constant presence, even when it isn't actively in the scene. Its mere existence is enough to create an atmosphere of fear and dread. Annabelle is more than just an object. It's a vessel for malevolent spirits, and the chaos it causes is a testament to the power it holds. The doll's influence is pervasive, seeping into every part of the house and manipulating the spirits that were once contained within the artifact room. The symbolism of Annabelle is crucial to the film. The doll represents the dangers of curiosity, the unknown, and the consequences of disturbing things that should remain hidden. It's a manifestation of evil that cannot be easily controlled, and its presence serves as a constant reminder that the supernatural world is both vast and terrifying. Annabelle is the antagonist, but she's also a tragic figure in her own right. Once a human vessel for a demonic entity, the doll now exists solely to spread fear and suffering, unable to escape the cycle of terror it perpetuates. It's a figure of unrelenting evil, and its presence in the Warrens' home is a constant reminder that the past is never truly gone. It lingers, waiting to strike again. While the human characters are caught in the chaos of Annabelle's curse, the emotional and thematic aspects of the film are anchored by their personal struggles. The film's core themes of grief, guilt, and the supernatural are reflected in each character's journey. Judy, though a beacon of strength, is a young girl burdened by a power she cannot fully understand. Mary Ellen, through her innocence, represents the hope and resilience needed to fight back against darkness. Daniela, struggling with guilt, represents the journey of emotional healing, one that is fraught with danger but ultimately leads to personal growth. In conclusion, Annabelle Comes Home is not just a film about supernatural horror, it's a story about the characters who must confront the terror that lies just beyond the veil. Each character's arc contributes to the emotional depth of the film, making the horror not just a series of jump scares, but an exploration of real human struggles. The film doesn't just focus on the fright factor. It delves into the complexities of the characters' emotional landscapes, making their fight against evil all the more compelling. When it comes to the making of Annabelle Comes Home, 2019, there are plenty of strange and fascinating facts behind the scenes that only add to the eerie allure of the film. From the challenges faced by the cast and crew to some truly unusual occurrences during production, this film has a wealth of interesting tidbits that paint a vivid picture of what it took to bring this terrifying supernatural thriller to life. The film, directed by Gary Dauberman, is the third installment in the Annabelle series and falls within the Conjuring universe. The Conjuring universe has earned a reputation for being one of the most successful and consistent franchises in the horror genre, with its intricate interconnected stories and deeply atmospheric horror. However, even with such a successful framework in place, Annabelle Comes Home was not without its strange moments and unique production quirks. One of the most notable aspects of the production was the intense attention to detail, particularly when it came to the setting and the supernatural artifacts in the Warrens' home. The film was shot almost entirely on a set that was designed to replicate the interior of the real-life Warrens' house, a place that has long been a source of fascination for paranormal enthusiasts. In order to achieve an authentic feel, the filmmakers went to great lengths to ensure the set was as true to life as possible. The set's interior was designed to resemble the actual collection room that Ed and Lorraine Warren maintained, which houses various cursed and haunted artifacts. This attention to detail extended to every corner of the house, with even the smallest objects carefully selected to match the eerie atmosphere that the Warrens' home is known for. Interestingly, the production team did not have access to the actual collection of paranormal items, as the Warrens' artifacts are housed in their private museum. However, they were able to closely replicate many of these items, which added a layer of authenticity to the film. The artifacts in the movie, such as the famous Annabelle doll, were meticulously recreated for the set, ensuring that the presence of these objects felt as real as possible. The doll, in particular, took on an almost lifelike quality, and its movements and placement in various scenes added to the sense of dread. But, of course, the creepy element of the doll wasn't just created on the set, it was brought to life by the people working with it. Another fascinating behind-the-scenes fact is that the cast and crew reported strange occurrences on set during filming, which mirrored the haunting atmosphere of the movie itself. Several of the cast members, including Mckenna Grace, who played Judy Warren, admitted to feeling an eerie presence while working on the film. Mckenna, in particular, was vocal about feeling uncomfortable in the set's artifact room. She recalled how the room, which was filled with objects tied to the supernatural, had a distinct energy to it. The crew members also shared similar experiences, reporting that they sometimes felt as though they were being watched or followed by unseen forces. While these occurrences could be written off as natural reactions to the setting, they certainly added a layer of intrigue and mystery to the production process. This sense of unease wasn't just limited to the actors and crew. One particularly strange moment occurred when the production team was filming a sequence involving the Annabelle doll. According to the filmmakers, the doll would occasionally shift positions on its own between takes, moving slightly on the shelf in a way that could not be easily explained. This added an element of authenticity to the filming process, as the crew began to joke that the doll might have a mind of its own. Whether it was a coincidence or something more, the movement of the doll on set only enhanced the chilling atmosphere that was being created on screen. The film also drew inspiration from real-life paranormal investigations conducted by Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens' involvement in the case of Annabelle, as well as their overall work with haunted objects, is an integral part of the film's story. While the events depicted in the movie are fictionalized for dramatic effect, they are rooted in the real-life experiences of the Warrens. The filmmakers consulted with paranormal experts, including the Warrens' daughter, Judy Warren, to ensure that the supernatural elements were portrayed as authentically as possible. Judy herself, who was a child during the events depicted in Annabelle Comes Home, spoke about the real-life Annabelle doll and how it continues to be a source of fascination and fear. In fact, the real Annabelle doll is a far cry from what we see on screen. The actual doll, which is housed in the Warrens' Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut, is a Raggedy Ann doll, not the creepy porcelain figure depicted in the films. The filmmakers chose to redesign the doll for the movie to make it more visually unsettling, opting for a porcelain-like appearance and adding exaggerated facial features to enhance its sinister look. This decision was made to create a more visually striking image for audiences, though it is widely acknowledged that the real-life doll is no less terrifying in its own way. One of the most unusual occurrences during the production of Annabelle Comes Home involved the filming of some of the supernatural manifestations that appear in the movie. In several scenes, the crew used practical effects to create the ghosts and spirits that haunt the Warrens' house. However, in some cases, the effects crew encountered unexpected challenges while trying to capture these paranormal manifestations on camera. For example, there was a scene involving a spectral bride, a ghostly woman dressed in a wedding gown, that was particularly difficult to film. The special effects team used a combination of practical and digital effects to create the ghostly figure, but there were multiple instances where the effects would malfunction or behave unpredictably. On one occasion, the crew reported that the bride's image flickered in a way that made it appear as though she was moving on her own, creating an unnerving effect that made everyone on set feel a little uneasy. The final shot of the bride, which is one of the film's most iconic moments, was achieved after several attempts to perfect the effect. The supernatural phenomena didn't stop there. The film also features a terrifying creature that is unleashed from the spirit world. This creature was created using a combination of special effects and practical creature designs, but again, the crew reported strange occurrences during filming. According to the special effects team, the creature would often seem to move even when it wasn't on camera. The team would set up the creature for a shot, only to find that it had shifted position or appeared in a different part of the set between takes. These occurrences were chalked up to coincidence or a misplacement of props, but they added a layer of mystery to the production, particularly when combined with the eerie atmosphere on set. The production of Annabelle Comes Home was also marked by a strong sense of collaboration between the filmmakers, cast, and crew. Director Gary Dauberman, who had previously written the screenplays for Annabelle, 2014, and Annabelle, Creation, 2017, brought a wealth of experience and knowledge to the project. His understanding of the Conjuring universe allowed him to craft a film that was both a standalone horror story and a continuation of the larger franchise. Dauberman's meticulous attention to detail in creating a suspenseful atmosphere was apparent throughout the film, as every scene was designed to build tension and keep the audience on the edge of their seats. Another interesting aspect of the production was the use of practical effects, particularly when it came to the supernatural manifestations. While CGI was used for certain elements of the film, the filmmakers made a conscious effort to rely on practical effects whenever possible. This decision was made to create a more grounded, realistic horror experience for the audience. For example, the sequence involving the werewolf-like creature was filmed using practical creature effects, with actors in costume and makeup. The creature's eerie movements and unsettling appearance were achieved through careful choreography and makeup design, which added a sense of realism to the scene. Lastly, the film's music and sound design played a significant role in creating the atmosphere of dread that permeates the story. The film's composer, Joseph Bishara, returned to score Annabelle Comes Home, bringing his signature blend of eerie, unsettling music to the production. Bishara's score plays a crucial role in heightening the tension throughout the film, and his ability to create a sense of unease through sound is one of the key elements that make the film so effective. The sound design, too, is crucial in setting the tone. The creaking of the house, the whispering of spirits, and the eerie sound of Annabelle's movements all contribute to the sense of foreboding that lingers throughout the film. In conclusion, Annabelle Comes Home is a film marked by strange occurrences, fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, and unusual challenges faced by the cast and crew. From the chilling atmosphere of the set to the eerie presence of the Annabelle doll, the making of the film was a journey into the unknown. These strange facts and occurrences only serve to enhance the film's haunting atmosphere, making it a truly memorable entry in the Conjuring universe. Whether through the unsettling supernatural occurrences or the creative decisions made by the filmmakers, the making of Annabelle Comes Home is a story in itself, one that adds an extra layer of mystery and intrigue to this terrifying film. The world of Annabelle Comes Home is one where supernatural terror and psychological horror blend seamlessly to create an unnerving atmosphere that lingers long after the credits roll. From its placement within the Conjuring universe to its own unique take on supernatural horror, this film stands out in both its execution and the emotional and thematic resonance it carries. Critical perspectives on this film, from its key events to the more profound implications of its themes, reveal how it is both a continuation of a legacy and a significant entry in its own right. The story, which centers around the haunted doll Annabelle and her influence on the lives of those who come into contact with her, is a blend of supernatural horror, mystery, and emotional drama. The way the film weaves these elements together is essential to its critical success, and a closer look at some of the movie's significant events reveals how they contribute to the film's broader narrative and emotional impact. One of the key events in Annabelle Comes Home that stands out from a critical perspective is the decision to set much of the action inside the Warren family home. This choice was not only a wise move in terms of the story, but also a powerful way of grounding the supernatural horror within a familiar, family-centric setting. By placing much of the film's tension within the walls of Ed and Lorraine Warren's house, specifically within their infamous artifact room, The filmmakers were able to evoke a sense of security, which then made the intrusion of evil all the more terrifying. The house, typically a place of safety, becomes a prison for those trapped within its walls, and this twist creates an emotional dissonance for the viewer. In fact, the very first moments of the movie, where we see the Warrens' house from a family perspective, underscore the ordinary nature of their home. This sets the stage for a more grounded horror experience. The moment Judy Warren, the couple's daughter, is left alone with the doll Annabelle, the tension begins to rise slowly. It's this shift in atmosphere from mundane safety to creeping terror that is so unsettling. This juxtaposition of normality and supernatural chaos gives the film its critical emotional weight. By the time the audience experiences the doll's influence, the film has effectively manipulated the sense of comfort and familiarity that a home typically offers. From a thematic standpoint, this shift plays heavily into the larger motifs of good versus evil, safety versus vulnerability, and innocence versus corruption. The placement of these metaphysical battles inside a house where a family should feel secure highlights the notion that no space is entirely safe from the supernatural forces that linger in the unseen corners of our world. This tension between the familiar and the unknown is a recurring theme in Annabelle Comes Home and drives the film's deeper emotional resonance. Another significant event in the movie is the moment when the demonic forces, which have been largely contained in the artifact room, are released into the home. This pivotal moment is not only crucial in terms of plot progression but also in terms of thematic exploration. The film uses these moments of supernatural release to further explore the idea of consequences. Throughout the story, the actions of the characters are framed within a larger moral context. When the girls, Mary Ellen and Daniela, accidentally unleash the spirits in the house, they are forced to face the consequences of their actions. This is a theme that resonates deeply, especially given the precariousness of their situation. The moment of release also brings an intense focus to the relationship between the supernatural and the human realm. While we see the haunting primarily affect the human characters, it's clear that the supernatural forces operate outside human logic, unaffected by the rules of the world as we know it. This contrast between the human world and the world of spirits adds depth to the story, emphasizing the ultimate powerlessness of the characters when faced with something beyond their comprehension. This event forces the characters to grapple with their fears, their desires, and their regrets as they deal with an unpredictable, merciless force. Moreover, this is where the thematic element of responsibility comes into play. The characters are each given opportunities to stop the chaos or mitigate its impact, yet their decisions often make things worse. Daniela's desire to connect with her deceased father leads her to make an ill-fated decision, unleashing the demons in the first place. Mary Ellen, who is left to care for Judy, finds herself caught up in events far beyond her control. This theme of human agency and the sometimes devastating consequences of choices is explored at length, giving the film emotional gravitas. In terms of critical perspectives on Annabelle Comes Home, one of the more interesting facets of the film is the role that Judy Warren plays. Judy is far from a passive character in the narrative, and her arc provides much-needed emotional resonance to the film. While Annabelle and the supernatural forces in the movie are the primary source of horror, Judy's character is the emotional anchor of the entire story. As the daughter of the famed paranormal investigators, Judy is often treated with a certain level of reverence or fear by those around her. Yet, her greatest challenge comes when she must learn to confront the very fears and forces that have shaped her life. Judy's emotional growth is central to the film's exploration of family, loss, and healing. Her journey from being a frightened child who is somewhat disconnected from her parents' world of the supernatural to becoming a young girl who must face her fears head-on is compelling and relatable. Judy, despite her young age, is the heart of the film, and her resilience provides a counterbalance to the overwhelming terror around her. Her development is subtle but significant, as she learns to wield both courage and compassion, giving the film an emotional depth that might not have been present otherwise. Furthermore, the film's climax serves as the ultimate test of Judy's growth. When she is forced to stand up against the spirits and Annabelle's evil influence, it is not just a fight for survival but a symbolic fight for control over her own fate. This theme of personal empowerment and growth amidst terrifying adversity resonates deeply with audiences and contributes to the film's emotional impact. One of the most significant moments in the film occurs near the end, when the characters are forced to confront their deepest fears and make life-or-death decisions. As the supernatural forces converge, and the characters race against time to prevent further destruction, the tension reaches a boiling point. This moment, one that sees Judy, Mary Ellen, and Daniela working together to protect the house and those they love, brings the thematic threads of family, unity, and the consequences of actions into sharp focus. This climactic sequence is not just an adrenaline-pumping conclusion to the horror story. It's also a reminder of the strength that can be found in family bonds and the importance of making responsible choices. This final confrontation also marks the culmination of the film's thematic exploration of redemption. Each of the characters, particularly Daniela, has an opportunity for redemption in this sequence. Daniela, who initially unleashed the spirits out of guilt and grief over her father's death, now has the chance to make things right by sacrificing herself for the greater good. The film's emphasis on redemption, the idea that we can face our past mistakes and make amends, adds an emotionally satisfying layer to the horror elements of the story. It's not just a supernatural battle, it's a personal journey of atonement and transformation. In terms of critical reception, Annabelle Comes Home was generally well received by both audiences and critics alike. Critics praised the film for its ability to build tension gradually, creating an atmosphere of creeping dread rather than relying on jump scares. The atmospheric build-up of the film allowed for deeper exploration of its themes and characters, giving the horror story a greater emotional resonance. Additionally, the movie's treatment of the supernatural forces at play was lauded for its consistency with the broader Conjuring universe, while also establishing its own distinct tone and identity within the franchise. The film's use of its setting, the Warren family home, was another aspect that garnered praise. By grounding the supernatural events in a seemingly ordinary domestic space, the filmmakers were able to make the horror feel more real and relatable. This choice also allowed for a more intimate exploration of the characters and their emotional struggles, giving the film a personal touch that made it more than just another haunted house story. From an emotional and thematic perspective, Annabelle Comes Home resonates with its audience by addressing universal themes of fear, responsibility, and redemption. These themes are explored through the experiences of the characters, who must face the consequences of their actions and confront their deepest fears. Whether it's Judy's journey toward maturity, Daniela's quest for redemption, or the group's struggle to protect the family home from malevolent forces, the film's emotional core is rooted in the complex relationships between its characters. Ultimately, the key events and the broader thematic structure of Annabelle Comes Home contribute to the film's lasting impact and its positive reception. The film is more than just a horror story. It is an exploration of human vulnerability, resilience, and the power of family. Through its careful blend of supernatural terror and emotional depth, Annabelle Comes Home stands out as a memorable and impactful chapter in the Conjuring universe. The making of Annabelle Comes Home is a fascinating journey through the complex, often unpredictable world of film production, where the line between horror and creativity blurs. As the third installment in the Annabelle franchise, it carries with it the weight of expectation from fans of the Conjuring universe. But beyond the chills and thrills that it delivers on screen, the production process itself is a story full of twists, challenges, and moments of genius. From the very beginning, the film's direction and production were shaped by the legacy of the Conjuring films. Produced by James Wan, the man behind the first two Conjuring movies, and directed by Gary Dauberman, who also wrote the screenplay, Annabelle Comes Home had a solid foundation in the franchise's signature style. What's intriguing about this film is that while it fits seamlessly into the broader Conjuring universe, it stands on its own as a chilling and self-contained story. The balance between paying homage to the franchise and creating something fresh for audiences was one of the film's most significant creative challenges. The choice to set much of the film inside the Warrens' home was a key decision that influenced the entire production process. The film's setting, primarily focused on the infamous artifact room, required a lot of thought in terms of creating an atmosphere that was both authentic to the Conjuring franchise and able to support the unique narrative of Annabelle Comes Home. The filmmakers wanted to ensure that the environment felt real, lived in, and connected to the larger mythology of the universe. The house itself, a constant presence in the film, was recreated in meticulous detail. The production team worked hard to ensure that every element of the set felt true to the world established in the earlier Conjuring films, while also introducing fresh visual elements to elevate the film's mood. One of the most notable aspects of the production was the use of practical effects. While CGI plays a significant role in modern horror films, Annabelle Comes Home stayed true to the Conjuring legacy by relying heavily on physical effects, creating a tangible sense of terror that made the supernatural elements feel more real. The Annabelle doll, the centerpiece of the horror, was designed and created by a special effects team that worked diligently to bring the doll's unsettling presence to life. While the doll is a simple, almost unassuming object, its movements and actions were achieved through a combination of clever puppet work, practical effects, and skilled acting. The eerie quality that the doll exudes, even when it is not moving, is a testament to the filmmaker's commitment to using physical effects to enhance the horror. Behind the scenes, the production crew had to work closely together to achieve the precise tone and atmosphere that would make the film stand out in the crowded horror genre. The film's cinematography, led by Michael Burgess, was a crucial part of the process. Burgess, who had previously worked on The Nun, used lighting and camera angles in innovative ways to create a sense of dread. The film is filled with tense, atmospheric shots that allow the viewer to feel the claustrophobia of the house and the ever-looming presence of the supernatural. There are moments in the film where the camera lingers just long enough on an object, a shadow, or a character's face to make the viewer feel a creeping sense of unease. These techniques, along with clever framing, heightened the suspense and terror without relying on excessive gore or violence. One of the more interesting behind-the-scenes stories comes from the set design and how the artifact room itself was constructed. The room, filled with relics and cursed objects, plays a pivotal role in the film. To make sure the space felt real and lived in, the production team sourced real antiques and eerie artifacts to populate the room. Some of the items on display, such as the infamous Annabelle doll, were chosen for their historical significance within the Conjuring universe lore, while others were designed specifically for the film. There were even moments where the production team added personal touches to some of the props to give them a more authentic feel. The film's production designer, Jennifer Spence, was instrumental in ensuring that the artifact room would be as visually striking as it was haunting. One of the more surprising facts about the making of Annabelle Comes Home is that the actors weren't always aware of what was happening around them on set. Many of the supernatural elements, especially the doll's movements and other eerie occurrences, were kept secret from the cast. This helped to create a sense of realism and spontaneity in the actors' reactions to the supernatural events. Mckenna Grace, who plays Judy Warren, mentioned in interviews that she was often kept in the dark about what was going to happen during certain scenes, which made her reactions to the horror feel more authentic. Similarly, the rest of the cast, including Madison Iseman and Sarife, had no idea what the final product would look like when it came to the more intense supernatural elements, making their performances more genuine. Another fascinating part of the film's production involved the filming of the paranormal sequences. A lot of the eerie happenings that take place in Annabelle Comes Home were achieved through precise timing, carefully choreographed movements, and sound design. The filmmakers utilized a mix of traditional and modern filmmaking techniques to craft their supernatural sequences. For example, some of the most suspenseful moments in the film, like when the possessed objects begin to move or when the lights flicker, were created through physical manipulation of props and practical effects. These moments were then enhanced by the sound design, which used subtle, unsettling noises to make the atmosphere even more tense. The filmmakers' focus on practical effects and atmosphere over cheap jump scares was a conscious decision aimed at creating a more immersive horror experience. The film also went through a rigorous editing process to ensure that its pacing and tension were just right. Editor Kirk M. Morey, who has worked on several horror films, played a vital role in shaping the final version of the movie. The pacing in Annabelle Comes Home is crucial, as the filmmakers needed to balance the slow burn of tension with the more fast-paced, intense moments. The editing was designed to gradually build suspense and allow the audience to feel the weight of every decision made by the characters. There's a deliberate effort to let the horror simmer before boiling over into chaos, creating a sense of rising dread that is only intensified by the character-driven moments. The film's sound design also played a major role in its success. The soundscape of Annabelle Comes Home is as much a part of the atmosphere as the visuals. From the soft whispers of spirits to the clattering of haunted objects, every sound was carefully crafted to evoke a sense of unease. The subtlety of the sound design is key to building tension in the quieter moments, while the more jarring noises during the film's climaxes serve to accentuate the terror. This delicate balance between silence and noise helped to immerse viewers in the eerie world the filmmakers were trying to create. Of course, no horror movie is complete without its share of spooky on-set stories, and Annabelle Comes Home had its fair share. It's no surprise, considering that the film revolves around a haunted doll and the supernatural forces that terrorize the characters. Some cast and crew members reported feeling strange occurrences while on set, such as unexplained cold spots and unsettling feelings of being watched. Several of the team members admitted to feeling uneasy around the Annabelle doll, even though they knew it was just a prop. This heightened sense of discomfort was partly due to the film's atmosphere and also the knowledge of the real Annabelle doll, which resides in the Warrens' occult museum. The filmmakers leaned into these stories to add to the authenticity of the film's atmosphere, ensuring that everyone, both in front of and behind the camera, was on edge during production. One final fun fact about Annabelle Comes Home is the fact that the film's release was carefully timed to capitalize on the growing popularity of the Conjuring universe. While it had a relatively modest production budget compared to some blockbuster films, it still made a significant impact at the box office, grossing over $230 million worldwide. The film's success was a testament to the lasting appeal of the Conjuring universe and the loyal fanbase that had grown with each entry. The production team's commitment to staying true to the franchise's core themes while also introducing fresh elements ensured that Annabelle Comes Home would be a box office hit, much like its predecessors. In the end, the production of Annabelle Comes Home was a fascinating journey that showcased the dedication, creativity, and passion of the entire cast and crew. From the practical effects to the atmospheric cinematography, every decision made on set contributed to the film's success in creating a memorable, terrifying experience. The behind-the-scenes stories and fun facts not only reveal the challenges and rewards of making a supernatural horror film, but also provide a deeper understanding of the artistry involved in bringing Annabelle Comes Home to life. Annabelle Comes Home is a film that hinges not only on the terrifying actions of its supernatural elements, but also on the atmosphere created by its settings and cinematography. As a film within the Conjuring universe, it has the responsibility of maintaining the eerie, suspenseful tone established in the previous films while carving out its own identity. And in this, the filmmakers have succeeded, by choosing locations that are rich in character and immersing the audience in an environment where every corner holds the potential for horror. The primary setting of Annabelle Comes Home is the home of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the real-life paranormal investigators whose cases form the foundation of the Conjuring series. The film takes place predominantly in their house, a space that has become iconic not only for its familial warmth but also for the darkness that lingers within. The filmmakers' decision to center the story in the Warrens' home was essential in bringing a familiar yet haunting context to the Annabelle franchise. The house itself is both a sanctuary and a prison for its inhabitants. As much as it is a place of safety, especially for the Warren family, it is also a holding ground for cursed artifacts and dark relics, many of which are contained in the infamous artifact room. The room is perhaps one of the most crucial elements of the film's setting. It is where the heart of the story takes place, and its design is a study in atmospheric dread. From the moment the characters step into the room, the audience feels the weight of its contents. The artifacts within are not merely props, they are the vessels of evil, each holding its own dark history and potential for harm. The artifact room is a key location because it serves as a visual representation of the central theme of the film, the boundaries between the known and the unknown. The walls are lined with various objects, old, creepy dolls, cursed trinkets, and other dark remnants of the supernatural. Every item has a backstory, and every item feels like it could come to life at any moment. The room is a space of containment, yet it's clear that these items are never truly contained. They are always waiting for the opportunity to escape, to find a way to wreak havoc. It is a constant reminder that the supernatural world is never far away, and it could break free at any moment. But the artifact room is not the only significant setting in Annabelle Comes Home. The rest of the Warren house is also steeped in tension, with its dark, shadow-filled hallways and dimly lit rooms. The cinematography in these scenes often employs tight framing and shadows, giving the impression of a space that is far more confined than it seems. The house, despite its outward appearance of normalcy, is a labyrinth of hidden spaces and unsettling quietude. The sound of footsteps echoing through the halls or the subtle creak of doors opening adds to the sense that something is lurking just beyond the frame. One of the most chilling sequences in the film takes place in the basement of the Warren home. This lower level, dark and unfinished, is an area that adds to the sense of foreboding that permeates the film. The basement serves as a location where the supernatural forces at play can grow in power, and as the characters descend into its depths, the tension is palpable. The lighting in this part of the house is minimal, with only the faint glow of a lantern to guide the characters. The cinematography in these scenes is particularly effective in creating a sense of isolation and vulnerability, as the characters are forced into a space where there is no escape. The cinematography throughout the film is exceptional, and it is a key factor in creating the mood and tone that pervade Annabelle Comes Home. Cinematographer Michael Burgess, who previously worked on The Nun, has a knack for capturing the subtle details of a scene in a way that enhances the feeling of dread. The lighting, in particular, plays an important role in the film's visual style. The house, with its various rooms and hallways, is often lit with low, atmospheric light that creates deep shadows and gives the space a sense of foreboding. This darkness works hand in hand with the film's plot, as it allows the filmmakers to build suspense through misdirection and moments of uncertainty. The use of lighting to create mood is particularly effective in moments when the supernatural elements come into play. In these sequences, the filmmakers use stark contrasts between light and shadow to amplify the terror. A character might step into a darkened hallway, only to have the light flicker ominously, casting long, twisted shadows on the walls. In these moments, the audience is left unsure of what is real and what is a product of their imagination. The deliberate use of dark tones in the cinematography, paired with the occasional burst of light, creates an atmosphere of unease that keeps viewers on edge throughout the film. One of the most effective techniques used in the cinematography of Annabelle Comes Home is the way it builds suspense through long takes and slow zooms. The filmmakers often allow the camera to linger on an object or space, letting the tension rise as the audience anticipates something jumping out or moving. These extended moments are particularly effective in scenes where the supernatural is at play, such as when the Annabelle doll is left alone in the artifact room. The camera lingers on the doll, and the audience is left waiting, almost holding their breath, as they anticipate the doll's movement. This slow build of tension, combined with the subtle lighting and sound design, creates a deeply unsettling atmosphere that is characteristic of the Conjuring universe. The use of space within the house is also an important cinematic tool. The rooms in the house often feel claustrophobic, with narrow corridors and small, cramped spaces. This lack of physical space translates into an emotional claustrophobia, as the characters become trapped by the supernatural forces that they are powerless to control. The close quarters of the home contrast with the larger, more expansive supernatural world that exists just beyond its walls. As the characters struggle to deal with the forces inside the house, the space becomes more oppressive, adding to the feeling of inevitability and doom that hangs over the story. In addition to the house, there are several key locations in Annabelle Comes Home that help enhance the story's atmosphere. The film makes effective use of exteriors to contrast with the interior settings. For example, there are scenes set in the dark, quiet streets outside the Warren home. These moments, bathed in the eerie glow of streetlights, serve as a reminder that the horrors within the house are not isolated. They are part of a much larger, more sinister world. The contrast between the safe, suburban exterior and the haunting interior of the house creates a sharp dichotomy that reinforces the idea that evil can take root anywhere, even in the most familiar places. The settings in Annabelle Comes Home are more than just backdrops for the action. They are integral to the film's narrative and emotional impact. The house and its various rooms are symbolic of the psychological and emotional states of the characters. The claustrophobic, shadowy spaces reflect the fear, confusion, and helplessness that the characters feel as they confront the supernatural forces at work. The space itself becomes a character, with its dark corners and hidden rooms mirroring the secrets and fears that the characters are unable to face. Beyond the settings, the film's cinematography also plays a pivotal role in establishing the film's tone. The decision to use practical effects and minimal CGI gives the film a grounded, tactile feel, making the supernatural elements more believable and more terrifying. The visual style is clean and unobtrusive, allowing the horror to unfold without overwhelming the audience with flashy, over-the-top effects. The filmmakers understand that horror is often most effective when it is subtle and restrained, and they use the visual language of the film to draw the audience into a world where every shadow hides something sinister. The way the camera moves through the house also contributes to the overall feeling of unease. There are numerous scenes where the camera glides through hallways, peeking around corners or following a character from behind, creating a sense of voyeurism. This technique adds to the film's sense of tension, as the audience feels as if they are observing the characters from a distance, unable to intervene. The camera's movement is often slow and deliberate, heightening the sense that something dangerous is always lurking just out of sight. In terms of tone, the cinematography effectively establishes a sense of foreboding that runs throughout the film. The house, despite its appearance as a family home, is a place where the normal laws of reality seem to break down. The supernatural elements that invade this space, whether it's the eerie, seemingly innocent doll or the malevolent spirits that haunt the characters, are made all the more terrifying by the way the settings and cinematography blend together. The atmosphere is thick with dread, and the way the film captures these spaces ensures that the audience feels every bit of the tension that the characters experience. In conclusion, the settings and cinematography of Annabelle Comes Home are central to its success as a horror film. The film's use of space, lighting, and camera movement creates a visually striking and immersive experience that enhances the story and deepens the emotional resonance of the film. By carefully crafting the atmosphere, the filmmakers are able to draw the audience into a world that feels real and yet utterly terrifying. The Warrens' home, with its dark corners and unsettling artifacts, becomes a character in its own right, shaping the narrative and adding to the horror that unfolds. The cinematography amplifies the tension, ensuring that every moment feels charged with fear and anticipation. The combination of these elements makes Annabelle Comes Home a truly chilling experience for its viewers. The making of Annabelle Comes Home was as much a thrilling adventure behind the scenes as it was a spine-chilling story on screen. Crafting a film that fits seamlessly into the Conjuring universe while offering fresh scares and a compelling narrative demanded creativity, collaboration, and a healthy dose of resilience. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew brought their unique talents, personalities, and problem-solving skills to the table, ensuring that the movie came to life with all its haunting charm intact. One of the most surprising elements during the production was how light-hearted the set was, given the film's terrifying tone. It's almost ironic that on a film so focused on fear, laughter often echoed throughout the set. The cast, particularly Mckenna Grace, who played Judy Warren, and Madison Iseman, who portrayed Mary Ellen, brought a sense of joy and playfulness to the atmosphere. Mckenna, being both a talented actress and a self-proclaimed horror enthusiast, was known to joke around between takes, occasionally pretending to be scared of the Annabelle doll only to burst into giggles moments later. The Annabelle doll itself became an unexpected character behind the scenes. While terrifying on camera, off-camera, she was treated with a mix of reverence and humor. Some crew members were so unnerved by the doll that they refused to touch her or even look at her for too long. Others, however, couldn't resist taking selfies or posing her in goofy positions during breaks. One memorable prank involved placing the doll in random, unexpected places around the set, like behind a curtain or in a director's chair, causing a few startled jumps and plenty of laughter. Director Gary Dauberman, making his directorial debut with Annabelle Comes Home, fostered a collaborative and approachable environment on set. Having previously worked as a writer on other films in the Conjuring universe, Dauberman had a deep understanding of the tone and style required. Despite the pressure of helming such a high-profile project, he maintained a calm demeanor, often sharing stories and jokes with the cast and crew. His ability to balance the intensity of directing with an open, friendly attitude earned him the respect and admiration of everyone involved. The camaraderie among the cast members was evident both on and off screen. Madison Iseman and Sarife, who played Daniela, quickly bonded over their shared love of horror films and their experiences navigating the challenges of filming a supernatural thriller. The two would often rehearse scenes together, experimenting with different line deliveries and emotional beats. Their off-screen friendship translated into a believable dynamic on screen, adding depth to their characters' interactions. One of the most challenging aspects of the production was creating the film's supernatural scares without relying too heavily on CGI. The filmmakers were committed to using practical effects wherever possible to maintain the grounded, realistic feel that defines the Conjuring universe. This commitment presented its own set of hurdles, particularly when it came to animating objects or creating ghostly apparitions. For instance, in the scene where a typewriter seemingly operates on its own, the production team used a clever combination of hidden wires and carefully timed movements to achieve the effect. It was a painstaking process, but the results were worth it. Audiences were left genuinely unsettled by the eerie authenticity of these moments. Another standout challenge was working with the artifacts in the Warren family's artifact room. Each item had to feel like it had its own sinister backstory, even if it wasn't explicitly featured in the film. The props team worked tirelessly to source or create objects that looked convincingly cursed or haunted. From an antique wedding dress to a music box with a haunting melody, every item in the room was designed to spark curiosity and dread. The actors often commented on how stepping into the artifact room felt like entering a different world. The atmosphere was so palpable that even seasoned crew members occasionally felt a chill while filming scenes in the room. The artifact room also presented logistical challenges during filming. The space was deliberately designed to feel cluttered and cramped, which made maneuvering cameras and equipment a tricky endeavor. Cinematographer Michael Burgess had to get creative with camera angles and lighting to capture the room's ominous energy without disrupting its claustrophobic vibe. The result was a series of hauntingly beautiful shots that showcased the room's eerie allure while keeping the audience on edge. Working with young actors like Mckenna Grace brought its own set of unique dynamics to the production. Despite her age, Mckenna displayed a level of professionalism and emotional depth that impressed everyone on set. She had an uncanny ability to switch between light-hearted playfulness and intense focus, depending on the scene. One of the more emotional moments in the film required her to confront her character's fears and vulnerability. To prepare, she worked closely with Gary Dauberman, discussing Judy's emotional journey and drawing on her own experiences to bring authenticity to the performance. The crew also faced unexpected challenges due to the film's tight schedule. Shooting a movie with a large number of supernatural elements in a relatively short time frame required meticulous planning and coordination. Night shoots, in particular, were grueling, as many of the film's key scenes take place after dark. The cast and crew often worked late into the night, battling fatigue and the occasional technical hiccup. Despite these challenges, morale remained high, thanks in large part to the supportive environment on set. One of the most memorable anecdotes from the production involved a power outage that occurred during a night shoot. The cast and crew were filming a particularly intense scene in the Warren home when the lights suddenly went out, plunging the set into darkness. While the outage was eventually traced to a minor electrical issue, the timing couldn't have been more fitting, or more unsettling. For a few moments, the eerie silence and flickering emergency lights made it feel as though the supernatural forces in the film had crossed over into reality. Once the power was restored, the team laughed it off and jokingly blamed Annabelle for the incident. The filmmakers also made a concerted effort to honor the legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren, whose real-life investigations serve as the foundation for the Conjuring universe. Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, who portray the Warrens in the series, made cameo appearances in Annabelle Comes Home and brought their characteristic warmth and gravitas to the set. Though their roles in the film were relatively small, their presence had a profound impact on the cast and crew, reminding everyone of the larger universe they were contributing to. One of the film's standout moments involved a scene where Mary Ellen is pursued by a malevolent spirit known as the Ferryman. Filming this sequence required a combination of practical effects, stunt work, and carefully choreographed camera movements. The ferryman's glowing eyes, a key visual element, were achieved using small LED lights embedded in the actor's costume. The effect was both simple and chilling, adding an otherworldly quality to the character without relying on heavy CGI. The actors and crew worked tirelessly to perfect the timing and execution of the scene, and their dedication paid off in one of the film's most memorable scares. Despite the intense nature of the film's subject matter, the set was also a place of learning and mentorship. Gary Dauberman often took the time to explain his creative choices to the cast and crew, fostering an environment of collaboration and mutual respect. For many team members, working on Annabelle Comes Home was an opportunity to grow professionally and creatively. The shared sense of purpose and passion for the project was evident in every aspect of the production, from the meticulous attention to detail in the set design to the heartfelt performances of the cast. As the film wrapped, the cast and crew reflected on the unique experience of bringing Annabelle Comes Home to life. It was a production filled with challenges, surprises, and moments of pure magic, both on and off screen. The stories and memories created during filming became an integral part of the film's legacy, adding an extra layer of depth to the haunting tale that unfolded on screen. In the end, the behind-the-scenes journey of Annabelle Comes Home was as much about the people as it was about the story. The dedication, creativity, and camaraderie of the cast and crew transformed a chilling script into a cinematic experience that resonated with audiences worldwide. From the playful antics of the Annabelle doll to the collaborative spirit of the team, the making of the film was a testament to the power of storytelling and the magic of filmmaking. The beating heart of Annabelle Comes Home lies not just in its scares but in the rich tapestry of themes and symbolism woven throughout the story. Beneath the supernatural surface of vengeful spirits and haunted artifacts is a narrative that explores profound ideas about fear, family, guilt, and redemption. Every ghostly whisper, every shadow creeping across the screen, serves a purpose beyond simply terrifying the audience. It draws us into the emotional and psychological depths of the characters, making their journey resonate on a human level. At its core, the film grapples with the theme of fear, what it means to confront it, how it shapes us, and how it can sometimes be the catalyst for growth. Judy Warren, the young daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren, is introduced as a character burdened by the legacy of her parents' work. She lives in the shadow of their investigations, carrying the stigma of being the child of ghost hunters. Her classmates' taunts and the isolation she feels create a fear not of the supernatural, but of being different, of being ostracized. This fear becomes central to Judy's arc, and it is through her courage and resilience that the film offers its first glimmer of hope. Symbolism plays a vital role in reinforcing Judy's journey. The Annabelle doll, as always, is a potent symbol of fear itself. Trapped in her glass case, the doll is a constant reminder that fear, when contained and controlled, cannot harm us. But when unleashed, whether by curiosity, recklessness, or desperation, fear becomes a force that feeds on vulnerability. Daniela, the troubled teenager who opens the artifact room and inadvertently releases the spirits, becomes a representation of how unresolved guilt and pain can lead us to make dangerous choices. Her decision to meddle with the doll is not merely a plot device but a deeply symbolic act, born out of her grief for her father and her desire to communicate with him. The theme of guilt and redemption is intricately tied to Daniela's character. She carries an unbearable weight, blaming herself for her father's death in a car accident. Her actions throughout the film, her recklessness in the artifact room and her eventual bravery in helping to restore order, mirror the complex emotional journey of someone seeking forgiveness. The ferryman, one of the spirits unleashed during the chaos, serves as a chilling representation of the price of unresolved guilt. As a creature who collects coins from the dead, the ferryman becomes a metaphor for the toll that guilt takes on the soul. Daniela's confrontation with this spirit is both literal and symbolic, as she faces her fears and begins the process of healing. Family, too, emerges as a central theme in Annabelle Comes Home. The Warrens, though absent for most of the film, remain an emotional anchor for Judy. Her parents' unwavering belief in her strength and their efforts to protect her from their dangerous work underscore the importance of familial love and trust. Similarly, the bond that forms between Judy, Mary Ellen, and Daniela throughout the film reflects the idea that family isn't always defined by blood but by the connections we forge in times of crisis. The trio's collective courage and determination to confront the malevolent spirits emphasize the power of unity and support. The artifact room itself serves as a powerful symbol of the past and its lingering hold on the present. Every item in the room carries a story, a memory, and a warning. It's a place where the consequences of past actions are literally locked away, yet it also represents the fragility of that containment. The room becomes a visual metaphor for the hidden fears and traumas we carry within ourselves. When Daniela unlocks the room, it's not just the spirits that are set free, it's also the buried emotions, regrets, and unresolved conflicts of the characters. Another poignant symbol in the film is Judy's bracelet, a gift from her father. This small, seemingly mundane object becomes a source of strength and comfort for Judy, especially in moments of doubt. The bracelet serves as a reminder of her parents' love and the protection they offer, even when they're not physically present. In a film filled with haunted artifacts and cursed objects, Judy's bracelet stands out as a symbol of hope and resilience, a counterbalance to the darkness that surrounds her. The use of light and darkness in the film further underscores its themes. Cinematographer Michael Burgess masterfully employs shadows and dim lighting to create an atmosphere of dread, but these elements also carry deeper meaning. Darkness, in many ways, represents the unknown, the fears that lurk in our subconscious and the secrets we keep hidden. The flickering lights and the glow of a single candle become symbols of the fragile line between safety and danger, clarity and confusion. In contrast, moments of light, whether it's the sunrise after a long night of terror or the warm glow of a family photo, offer a sense of relief and renewal, reminding us that fear is temporary and can be overcome. The concept of protection is another recurring theme, symbolized most prominently by the glass case housing the Annabelle doll. The case is inscribed with the phrase, "Positively do not open," a clear warning of the dangers within. Yet, the case also represents the idea that some things, whether they are fears, traumas, or supernatural entities, must be acknowledged and contained, rather than ignored or dismissed. When the case is shattered during the film's climax, it becomes a visual representation of what happens when boundaries are crossed and safeguards are breached. The subsequent chaos underscores the importance of respect and caution when dealing with forces beyond our control. Religious imagery and symbolism also play a significant role in the film, reflecting the Warrens' faith and their reliance on spiritual strength to combat evil. From the crucifixes adorning the artifact room to the prayers and blessings invoked by the characters, these elements serve as reminders of the battle between good and evil. Judy's ability to use a cross to ward off one of the spirits highlights her inner strength and her connection to her parents' faith. It's a powerful moment that signifies her growth and her acceptance of her own courage. One of the most intriguing aspects of the film is its exploration of the thin veil between life and death. The spirits that haunt the characters are not just malevolent entities but representations of unresolved emotions and unfinished stories. The bride, for example, symbolizes betrayal and vengeance, while the ferryman embodies loss and transition. Each spirit is a reflection of the fears and struggles faced by the characters, making them more than mere antagonists. They are mirrors of the human condition. Even the seemingly ordinary setting of the Warren family home is imbued with symbolic significance. The house, with its cozy interiors and suburban charm, contrasts sharply with the horrors lurking within. It's a place that should feel safe and comforting, yet it becomes a battleground for the characters' survival. This duality mirrors the film's central theme, that fear and courage often coexist, and that true bravery lies in facing the darkness, even when it threatens to overwhelm us. Throughout the film, the interplay between the characters and their environment reinforces the idea that fear is a universal experience, but so is the ability to overcome it. In the end, Annabelle Comes Home is more than just a horror film. It's a story about facing the unknown, finding strength in adversity, and the enduring power of love and family. Through its themes and symbolism, the film invites us to confront our own fears and to believe in the possibility of redemption and resilience. It's a haunting tale, yes, but also a deeply human one, and it lingers in the mind long after the credits roll. The cast of Annabelle Comes Home brought a magnetic energy to the film, each actor contributing a layer of authenticity that elevated its haunting story. At the heart of the movie is young Mckenna Grace, who plays Judy Warren, the daughter of famed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Grace's portrayal of Judy is nuanced and emotionally resonant, capturing the quiet strength and vulnerability of a child who carries the weight of a legacy she barely understands. Her ability to navigate the balance between fear and bravery anchors the film, making her performance one of its standout features. In interviews, Mckenna Grace revealed the depth of her preparation for the role. Despite her young age, she took her craft seriously, delving into the lore of the Conjuring universe to understand Judy's world. Grace shared how she worked closely with director Gary Dauberman to fine-tune her performance, often asking questions about Judy's backstory and motivations. She spoke about the emotional challenges of portraying a child grappling with isolation and fear while trying to live up to her parents' reputation. Grace's dedication to authenticity shines through in her scenes, particularly in moments of quiet reflection, where her expressive eyes communicate more than words ever could. Madison Iseman, who plays Mary Ellen, brought warmth and relatability to her role as Judy's babysitter. Iseman's character is more than just a caretaker. She becomes a source of comfort and courage for Judy as the horrors of the night unfold. In interviews, Iseman talked about the importance of grounding Mary Ellen in realism, portraying her as an ordinary young woman caught in extraordinary circumstances. She described how she and Mckenna Grace formed a genuine bond off-screen, which translated into their on-screen chemistry. Their dynamic is one of the film's emotional cores, providing a sense of hope and resilience amidst the terror. Katie Sarife's portrayal of Daniela Rios adds another layer of complexity to the story. Daniela's guilt over her father's death drives her to make the fateful decision to enter the artifact room, setting the events of the film in motion. Sarife's performance captures Daniela's recklessness and vulnerability, making her a compelling and sympathetic character despite her mistakes. In interviews, Sarife shared how she drew from personal experiences to connect with Daniela's emotional arc, particularly the themes of grief and longing. She also revealed that some of her most intense scenes, such as her encounters with Annabelle and the ferryman, required her to tap into genuine fear, as the practical effects on set made the supernatural elements feel all too real. Behind the camera, Gary Dauberman, in his directorial debut, brought a unique vision to Annabelle Comes Home. Known for his work as a screenwriter on previous Conjuring universe films, Dauberman stepped into the director's chair with a clear understanding of the franchise's tone and themes. In interviews, he spoke about his approach to balancing the horror elements with the emotional core of the story. He wanted the film to feel intimate, focusing on the relationships between the characters and how they cope with the supernatural forces they face. Dauberman credited the cast for their collaborative spirit, often incorporating their suggestions into the film to make the characters more authentic. The chemistry among the cast extended beyond their performances. Interviews and behind-the-scenes footage reveal a tight-knit group that enjoyed working together, often sharing laughs between takes. Mckenna Grace and Madison Iseman frequently posted photos and videos from the set, showcasing the fun and camaraderie that defined their experience. Katie Sarife recalled how the cast would huddle together during breaks, swapping stories and building the trust necessary to perform the film's emotionally charged scenes. This bond is evident in the film, where the relationships between Judy, Mary Ellen, and Daniela feel genuine and heartfelt. The ensemble cast was rounded out by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, who reprised their roles as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Though their screen time in this installment is limited, their presence provides a sense of continuity and grounding for the story. Wilson and Farmiga bring their usual gravitas to their performances, reminding audiences of the Warrens' unwavering commitment to protecting others from the supernatural. In interviews, both actors expressed their excitement about returning to the franchise and praised Mckenna Grace for her work as Judy. They also shared anecdotes about filming their scenes, including a light-hearted moment where Wilson accidentally tripped over a prop during a particularly tense sequence. Beyond the cast and crew, Annabelle Comes Home owes much of its success to the fans who embraced it. Audience reviews poured in after the film's release, with many praising its balance of scares and heart. Horror aficionados lauded the film's ability to deliver genuine chills without relying on excessive gore or jump scares. The Ferryman and the Bride, two of the spirits introduced in this installment, became instant fan favorites, with viewers describing them as some of the most terrifying entities in the Conjuring universe. Social media buzzed with discussions about the Artifact Room's potential for spin-offs, as fans speculated about the backstories of other cursed objects. Casual moviegoers also found much to enjoy in Annabelle Comes Home. Many reviews highlighted the film's relatability, noting how the focus on Judy and her struggles as a young girl dealing with fear and loneliness made the story more accessible. Parents, in particular, connected with the film's themes of familial love and protection, often citing the Warrens' unwavering devotion to their daughter as a source of inspiration. The humor sprinkled throughout the film, such as Bob's awkward attempts to impress Mary Ellen, was another point of praise, providing moments of levity that balanced the darker elements. Critics were similarly impressed by the film's craftsmanship and emotional depth. While some noted that the story didn't reinvent the horror genre, many applauded its execution and character-driven approach. The Los Angeles Times described it as a refreshingly intimate entry in the Conjuring universe, blending traditional scares with a heartfelt narrative. Rolling Stone highlighted Gary Dauberman's direction, calling it a confident debut that proves he's more than just a talented screenwriter. Meanwhile, Variety praised the performances of the young cast, singling out Mckenna Grace as a rising star with a magnetic presence. However, no film is without its detractors, and Annabelle Comes Home was no exception. Some viewers felt that the film's scares were too predictable, relying on familiar horror tropes rather than breaking new ground. Others criticized the pacing, particularly in the first act, which they found too slow. Still, even among its critics, there was an acknowledgement of the film's technical achievements and the strength of its performances. One of the most heartwarming aspects of the film's reception was the response from fans of the Conjuring universe. Many expressed gratitude for the way Annabelle Comes Home expanded the franchise's mythology while staying true to its roots. Online forums and fan communities buzzed with theories and analyses, as viewers dissected the film's connections to previous entries and speculated about its implications for future installments. The Artifact Room became a particular point of fascination, with fans sharing their interpretations of the various objects and their hidden stories. In the end, Annabelle Comes Home succeeded not only as a horror film but as a story about the resilience of the human spirit. The cast and crew's passion for the project, combined with the audience's enthusiastic embrace, made it a standout entry in the Conjuring universe. Whether it was through spine-chilling scares, heartfelt performances, or behind-the-scenes camaraderie, the film left a lasting impression on all who experienced it. It's a testament to the power of collaboration, creativity, and storytelling, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is light to be found. Annabelle Comes Home is much more than just another installment in the ever-expanding Conjuring universe. It's a movie that carves out its own unique space in the franchise while connecting its threads to the larger, haunting world of Ed and Lorraine Warren. From the start of our deep dive, we uncovered how this film serves as a thrilling yet intimate exploration of fear, family, and redemption. At its heart, it's not just a horror movie. It's a story about relationships, courage, and finding light in the darkest places. We started by exploring the essence of the film, a narrative centered on Judy Warren, the young daughter of paranormal legends, and her struggle to navigate a life shadowed by the supernatural. It's a story filled with tension, heartache, and triumph as Judy, along with Mary Ellen and Daniela, confronts the unleashed horrors from the Warren family's notorious Artifact Room. Every cursed object, every shadow lurking in the corners of their house, and every scream that pierces the night adds to the rich, layered atmosphere that director Gary Dauberman masterfully crafts. The overview of the movie set the tone for the thrilling journey we took as we dived into the plot, unraveling its twists and turns. From Judy's initial isolation to Daniela's reckless curiosity, we saw how one fateful decision triggered a cascade of terrors that would test the character's strength and resolve. The first half of the story set the stage, filling us with dread as the cursed Annabelle doll awakened dormant evils. The second half brought those fears to life, culminating in an emotional and terrifying battle between innocence and malevolence. Every scene unfolded like a well-played symphony, each note hitting with precision, leaving the audience clutching their seats in anticipation of what might happen next. Our character analysis brought the key players to life in a way that went beyond their surface roles. Judy's quiet bravery, Mary Ellen's nurturing strength, and Daniela's guilt-driven determination offered layers of depth that made them more than just characters in a horror film. They became relatable and real. Even Annabelle, though inanimate, carried an aura that made her more than a simple doll. The way the actors brought these roles to life elevated the film, blending terror with heartfelt emotion. We then delved into the fascinating behind-the-scenes stories, uncovering some of the strangest facts about the production. From how the cast and crew formed bonds over spooky coincidences on set to the intricate details that went into designing the artifact room, every aspect of the filmmaking process showed the dedication and passion behind the project. These anecdotes brought an added layer of intrigue to the film, reminding us that the magic of cinema often comes from the collaboration of talented, creative individuals. Through critical perspectives, we analyzed how the film's major events weren't just there to scare but to resonate emotionally. The setting, infused with atmosphere and dread, played a crucial role in amplifying the horror. The cinematography, lighting, and sound design worked seamlessly to immerse the audience in the world of the Warrens, making the house itself feel like a living, breathing character. Themes of family, forgiveness, and bravery emerged, reminding us that horror can be deeply human, and the struggles faced by the characters mirror our own fears and challenges. Exploring the filmmaking techniques used in Annabelle Comes Home gave us an even deeper appreciation for the craft. The way the camera lingered on darkened hallways or subtly hinted at movement in the shadows heightened the tension without ever feeling forced. The editing was sharp, knowing when to hold its breath and when to release it in a burst of terror. Sound, too, played a significant role. The whispers, creaks, and chilling music pulled the audience into the haunting world, making every scare land with impact. The movie's impact wasn't just limited to the screen. The cast's interviews offered us a glimpse into the people behind the characters, their shared camaraderie, and the care they put into bringing this story to life. Audience reviews highlighted how the film resonated with both fans of the Conjuring universe and newcomers. It wasn't just about scares. It was about the connections people felt to the characters and the universal themes that underpinned the narrative. Throughout our journey, we explored how Annabelle Comes Home balanced being a standalone horror film with being part of a larger universe. The film's ability to weave its own story while honoring the legacy of Ed and Lorraine Warren is a testament to the creative team behind it. Every cursed artifact in the room held its own potential story, and fans couldn't help but speculate about what might come next. The bride, the ferryman, and the other sinister spirits introduced in this film have all become memorable additions to the franchise. The themes and symbolism we uncovered added even more layers to the film. It's not just about a haunted doll or a series of jump scares. It's about the cost of curiosity, the power of belief, and the courage it takes to confront one's fears. The symbol of light, whether it's Judy holding the projector or the warmth of Mary Ellen's protective embrace, stood as a beacon in the darkness, reminding us that hope persists even in the scariest of times. Ultimately, Annabelle Comes Home isn't just another horror film. It's a story about resilience and redemption, about finding strength in unlikely places, and about the bonds that hold us together in the face of the unknown. It's a testament to the idea that even when surrounded by darkness, the light within us can shine through.